Today's episode is going to be a little verbal, processy, maybe a little story time-y. I know we don't always have a super strong structure in these podcast episodes, but I'm having a lot of realizations and epiphanies, and I just feel called to be more vulnerable right now. So today we're going to be talking about feeling safe in relationships and feeling safe with people and feeling safe in the world, especially after you have experienced abandonment, neglect, and abuse. I've got to give a trigger warning. I won't go into very specific or horrendous details of anything, but I will be mentioning topics of abandonment, neglect, and abuse. Recently, I have been at a place where I realized that next level success, next level recognition, next level income is going to take next level amounts of people in my world and in my community. And I know a lot of people have said several times, Natalie, you are so underrated. I don't understand why you don't have more subscribers. I don't understand. And the truth is that it's very energetic. I have been feeling very unsafe with people for all of my life. Having more subscribers, having more people, growing my community, having more customers, having more clients means allowing more people to come into my world. And that has been terrifying for me. One of the reasons why that has been so scary is because I didn't grow up around safe people. I didn't grow up around people who took care of me, who had my back, who loved me, who made choices in my best interest. I grew up with a mother who ignored me while I cried because she said that babies and children crying is babies and children being manipulative, and she's not going to let a baby or child have control over her. I grew up being taught that having emotional needs and wanting people to meet my emotional needs makes me a bad person. This is actually the framework for my course, my signature program. I'm not trying to sell you something. I'm being so serious right now. The Receiver's Mindset course. That's my definition of unworthiness. Unworthiness is when you believe that it is bad and not okay for you to receive. Worthiness is the opposite. Worthiness is when I know and I believe that it is good and okay for me to receive. So I grew up with unworthiness being embedded in day-to-day life. I was taught that it was good for me to be emotionally neglected, that attention-seeking behaviors were best to be ignored. And I've been crying a lot lately. Because sometimes, and you'll have to tell me in the comments or email me or DM me on Instagram, sometimes when you've experienced trauma, it's normal, right? Like it's just what happened. It's how you live. It's, things that happen. People don't take care of you emotionally. That's just everyday life. But then when you think about that happening to somebody else, oh my God. It just shatters your heart in a million pieces. And you just realize how absolutely terrible it is to treat another person that way, A couple of weeks ago, a family friend of ours came to pick up a broken desk and a portion of my old mattress. And she had her little boy, a little toddler. He's so cute and I love him. She had him with her. He had a doctor's appointment or something like that. And so I was in the bathroom and she comes over and she immediately goes into the room and starts getting everything to take to her truck. And she's like, yeah, the baby's on one. He's feeling fussy. He needs a nap. He needs to eat. We need to go. I know you're in the bathroom nap, but I'm going to get everything myself because, the baby we need to just get home. And so I'm in the bathroom. I'm like, okay, I'm coming as soon as I can. I think I was in the shower. I don't know. I don't remember. But I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure I was in the shower. Knowing me, if I'm taking a long time in the bathroom, I was probably in the shower. But anyway, so I finally come out of the bathroom and I'm like, okay, looking to where they are. I go out into the garage, out into, our garage and outside where her truck is. And the baby is screaming. Oh my God, he is screaming. And my mother is there outside in the garage and she's doing laundry. And so immediately I come outside and I'm hearing this baby screaming. And she, the family friend, she had a lot of the furniture already taken care of. She wasn't really struggling. But this baby is fucking screaming. So, of course, I go to the truck and I'm talking to the baby. And even though the baby is, fussy and screaming, he quiets down when he sees me because, of course, you're a little human being who can't take care of yourself. And if there are no adults around, then you have no caregiver. And that's absolutely terrifying. And anybody would be screaming. So I'm there and I'm talking to him and he's, fussy and not wanting to play with me. And I'm like, that's okay. But even as he is screaming before he's becoming more calm and stuff, my mom is just in the garage, just doing laundry. There's nothing happening. And I said to her, I'm like, how are you doing laundry right now? And this kid is crying like this and you're not doing anything. And I don't think that she responded or said anything back or whatever. And I didn't press the issue because it's fucking typical. But it's oh my God. sometimes there's like a dissonance, you know? You don't think about the terrible things that happen to you within the context of your life. You don't look at your parents and think these are the people who hurt me and neglected me. You don't, you know? So having those realizations and becoming mortified because I physically I could not imagine being in a place and ever hearing or seeing a child, whether I knew them or not, that was in pain or hurting or needed help, and just being like, laundry day. I'm like, what the fuck? What the actual fuck? So there's that. I didn't have safe people growing up. When I think about my youngest older brother who physically, emotionally, and psychologically abused me throughout my childhood, I think about how old I was when the abuse started, and I can't imagine. It hurts my heart. It would never come to my mind to do the things that he did to me to a child. And I don't know about you, but I never really saw myself as a kid, you know? Like, this is just my point of view. I'm just in this body. I'm just alive. You know what I mean? I never saw myself as a kid. So when I actually think about like a 7, 8, 9-year-old little girl, I can't fucking imagine, like, oh my God. I was just a little girl. And that makes me feel mortified. So I did not have safe people around me growing up. And it taught me that people are unsafe. That people are untrustworthy, that people will backstab you. I remember I have a cousin who's 4 years older than me, and she was my best friend, except it was one of those experiences where you think that you're somebody's best friend, but they don't think that you're their best friend, you know? So I thought that she was my best friend in the whole world. We're so close. She's the person that I always want to hang out with at the family gathering. I want to go to her house for a sleepover. I am allergic to cats. I know, I'm a cheetah girl, cat lady. Cats love me. This is true. And we respect each other's space because I am allergic. So this cousin, in their house, my aunt's home, they had cats. They kept cats, stray cats, kittens. They had cats. And I'm really allergic to cats. But I would go over their house to visit. And it would be so bad when I finally left, whether I'm there for a day or two, just, spending the night sleepover. I come back home. I have trouble breathing. I'm wheezing. One scratch from a cat on my hand, and my hand is inflamed. We didn't have cats at my house, but that cousin never came to my home. There was one sleepover that happened at our house, my house. But I was always going over there. Always trying to be over there. Even though it hurt me. Even though it made me sick. And that breaks my heart. And these experiences that you have when you're a baby and you don't know better, right? When you're a kid, you don't know better because there's nobody teaching you better. There's nobody showing you better. There's nobody demonstrating better for you. There's nobody leading you in a loving way. These experiences, what? 0 to 7, 0 to 8. These experiences, they shape your subconscious definition of love. These experiences taught me that love will make you sick, that love is feeling terrified and unsafe. I remember the guy from the incident at my college, you know. I remember when I was in college and I was like, oh my God, so in love with this guy, right? Quotation marks around the so in love. I'm not going to invalidate my past feelings. We don't have time to get into it. I'm quote unquote so in love with this guy. And this is the time that my psychic gifts are starting to take off. I was seeing visions of this man abusing me. Like physically abusing me. Like premonitions. And I would see these images in my mind and I would think to myself, I don't know what this is. I don't know why I'm seeing this. I don't know what's going on. And it's like, first of all, on a spiritual level, are you having premonitions and is your intuition telling you that you need to get the fuck ASAP? Yes. And also, on a subconscious level, on a psychological level, for whatever reason, that man makes you feel afraid. And you still feel that it is acceptable and okay to be around him, to want to be with him. You want to be around a man that makes you feel afraid. It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart when I think about the versions of myself and the ways that I allowed myself to be treated because I didn't feel worthy of more. You know, like, that is my baby. I just want to protect her, my past self, you know? So anyway, I didn't grow up with safe people. I didn't grow up being loved. I didn't grow up being adored. I grew up being the black sheep. I grew up being the odd one out. I grew up being the one who every single mistake, every single flaw was pointed out and was blown up and was blown out of proportion. I grew up feeling persecuted, cast out, isolated. I remember, I probably have told this story before, but I'll tell it as long as I want to. I remember one time there was a family gathering, my mother's side of the family, aunts, uncles, cousins, whole shebang. My mother has 8 siblings. There's 9 of them in total, so, large. And I don't even know if all of the people were there, but basically, it was the first time in a long time that all of us had been together, and we were at my aunt's house for this party, right? I feel like it was like a random party, whatever. And I just felt like I didn't belong there. My cousin, who was my best friend but was not my best friend, I'll finish that story in a second. She was there, but when she came in, she didn't approach me, and she didn't say anything to me, and I didn't say anything to her. I didn't approach her. And so instead of hanging out with me that night for that party, she was hanging out with someone else. And it was like those little interesting things that you notice as a kid, or that I noticed as a kid. When people see other people and they're happy, oh my God, so-and-so is here. And then they see you and they're like, oh, hi, Natalie. Those experiences where I am the girl who, it's like you either die a golden retriever or you live long enough to become a black cat personality. You know what I mean? I had, and honestly still do, but when I was a kid, it was, oh my God, to the 10th degree. I had this energy of excitement and happiness. Oh my God, you're here. I'm so happy to see you. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so happy that you're around. Oh, I was waiting for you to show up, So being the girl who is excited to see everyone and so happy, and I just love my family. I think everybody as humans is community oriented. We're an interdependent species. We need love and we need connection to survive, right? I used to mention this study all of the time. They did a study with newborn babies, and they left the babies alone and only gave them food and basic necessities, but they didn't give the babies cuddles, they didn't give the babies love, and they had to end the study because the babies were dying. We as human beings, we need love and we need connection and we need people to show up for us. We need community, right? We are interdependent. We are not made to do things on our own or to be isolated. We hunt and gather in groups, right? So in a way, yes, we all need community and we all need love. And also, who I am and who I have always been is this family-oriented person. I always wanted family, to be a part of my family, to belong with my family, to be wanted by my family, to be loved, and that rejection that I was so aware of and sensitive to, it just, I felt like it hurt 10 times more, because I wanted love and connection, which is probably normal. So anyway, we're at this family gathering, and because I don't go to approach my cousin, who I think is my best friend in the entire world, she doesn't approach me at all. And we just don't hang out. And I'm just kind of alone and I'm just kind of standing there. So at some point, they decide to take a picture. Let's all take a picture. It's been so long since all of us have been in the same place. And everybody goes to take a picture. And I don't go. I don't want to go. I don't want to be in the picture. And for a couple of moments, they're like, come on, Nat, come get in the picture. And then I'm like, no, I don't want to be in the picture. And like, obviously, I had to have looked sad as fuck. I mean, like, is this a good time for a joke? Like, she's always been bringing the drama. Like, I know she was not giving nonchalant. She's a little girl. Anyway, I obviously was upset about something. And they're like, okay, she doesn't want to be in the picture. She doesn't have to be in the picture. So everybody is in this picture except for me. And I love seeing the picture on Facebook. And after everybody took the picture, everybody in my family, it wasn't everybody, because I think there were like some, maybe uncles, maybe aunts that weren't there, but it was a lot of them, right? I am one of the youngest. In my father's side, I'm the youngest, like, grandkid. On my mother's side, I am the third youngest. So there's two that are younger than me for the grandchildren. So all of these people, 4 years older than me, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, like, huge age range. And then, of course, you know, my mother and aunts and all that. All these people, after the picture is taken, nobody's like, hey, are you okay? Is everything all right? Why don't you want to take the picture? Nobody asked, because nobody gave a fuck. Story of my life. Nobody gave a fuck. And that was a really harmful experience for me. And it was an experience that taught me that, even though this is not true, but that experience, the way that I interpreted it, it taught me that I'm not important. I'm not actually wanted. So back to the cousin who I thought was my best friend forever, but was not my best friend forever. She was my op forever. She was actually my enemy. So, surprise. Imagine my surprise. So, I thought that she was like my best friend in the entire world. And of course, I'm the only person who is initiating and putting energy and effort into this relationship and into this connection. And there was one year I had to have been in the 6th grade, because we were living in this apartment complex. When I was in the 6th grade, we lived in the same city and apartment complex as my not best friend cousin. So there was a party for something like fucking 4th of July or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it was a holiday. There was some sort of gathering that was happening, but it wasn't like Christmas. You know, I don't think it was Thanksgiving. You know, it was something like that. So anyway, people are at my house. My uncle and his daughter, my other cousin, are there. And my cousin, God, this is a hard story to tell without naming names. Okay, so there's the BFF and then there's the older cousin, okay? And she's older than me and the BFF cousin, and they sometimes like hang out with each other. Me and the older cousin don't really hang out because she's like, 5, 6, 7, 8 years older than me, you know? So, okay. That cousin, the older cousin, she has a car, which I think is super cool. You know, I'm in 6th grade. So, yeah, just like super cool. You have a car, you drive, like how awesome, right? So we, the three cousins that were there at the event, end up in my oldest cousin, older cousin's car. And so I'm in the back seat and I'm being me, who is excitable and really just wants to have a good time, which honestly, yeah, 10 out of 10. Like, yeah. So anyway, I'm in the back seat and I'm like, we should go to the mall and like we should do something like, and I think that we were maybe making plans or something. There was a conversation about what should we do or something like that. And I was just so freaking excited. And this older cousin who we don't even have a fucking relationship like that. Like we do not have a personal relationship. We don't hang out one-on-one. She goes, "You are so annoying." And she goes, "No wonder your best friend cousin says blah, 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 terrible, horrible things about you. No wonder your favorite cousin, favorite person in the entire world says you're so fucking annoying." And like, oh my God, that crushed me. And like, it crushed me because, ouch, I'm actually not trying to be annoying. I'm actually trying to be really cool. Right? I'm in the 6th grade. Like, come on, bitch. Like, oh my God. Anyway, so it hurt my feelings because I was trying to be cool. And also, what do you mean my best friend in the entire world says that I'm annoying? She secretly hates me? How often was this conversation had? And so there's that reoccurring theme that I haven't mentioned in this podcast episode, but I mentioned it in another episode that I have not published. Anyway, there's a reoccurring theme of people say that they like you, but they actually don't like you. And they actually really hate you. And they actually think that you're the worst person in the entire world. And they actually really wish that you didn't exist. So everybody would be happier if you weren't here. That was my experience growing up, over and over and over and over again. I'd tell you all of it, but it would take us about 19-20 years. You know what I mean? Like, God, that was just what my experience was. So hold on, I'm hot as fuck. I'm laying in bed on my heating pad. Got a fucking heater on in this bitch. And also I'm talking about past pains and things that make me feel excited. So of course my body temperature is going up and shit. Excuse me while I get comfortable, please. Okay. So what does this mean and how is this really fucking relevant to us at all? What this means is that, God, I felt like how Katy Perry said, a plastic bag drifting through the wind. A house of cards, one blow from caving in. Yeah. If you don't know the song Firework by Katy Perry, then go listen to it. Because that's how I felt for a majority of my life. And it really impacted my relationships because what happened? I felt unimportant. I felt insignificant. I felt unwanted. That cousin, my quote-unquote supposed BFF, showed me over and over and over again that she was not my friend. She did not like me. And if she was given the opportunity to backstab me, to betray me, to throw me under the bus, she would take it. But what else am I going to do? I don't have another cousin. I don't have another cousin my age. I don't have another girl cousin my age to hang out with. If I stop hanging out with her, I'm alone. Growing up being surrounded by unsafe people, people that don't take care of you, people that don't love you, people that don't show up for you. All of that, like I said earlier, becomes your subconscious definition of love. It's what you attract, it's what you expect, it's what you believe is normal. So when you have that moment where you decide that you're done being hurt, done being betrayed, done with terrible shit, you cut the harmful people off, the people who aren't going to change, the people who aren't going to take care of you. You cut those people out of your life, absolutely, and then you end up alone. Because you do not have the expectation that people will take care of you. You do not have the expectation that people will show up for you. You do not have the expectation that people want to love you. To this day, I am still energetically and mentally wrapping my mind around the idea that a man might want to love me genuinely and authentically. I know these things theoretically. I know these things logically. Subconsciously, I'm working on it. Energetically, I'm working on it. Because it's completely foreign and opposite to the abandonment, neglect, abuse, and betrayal that I experienced in my childhood. So how is this really relevant? It's really relevant because I realized lately I have been on an apology tour. A real fucking apology tour lately. Because I cut people off. I cut people out. And it felt logical because our brains are brilliant. And fear can be really sneaky and tricky. And it can seem really logical. But it's not. I cut people out and pushed people away because as a natural consequence of my lived experience, I feel terrified of people. Terrified of people. First, I thought that it was just men, because that was the only thing that I was really looking at. And then as I looked at my behavior in friendships the past couple of weeks, and then I started looking at the past couple of months, and then I looked at the past year, and I said, oh my God. Oh my God. I've been pushing people away. And there are some times when you let relationships go, you create distance, you create boundaries, and that's what you need, and that's what's right for you genuinely and authentically, and that has happened for me as well. But I had an experience where I reached out to one of my high school best friends, who I loved and adored like a sister. I was over her house all of the time, and I was calling her mom, you know what I mean? And I was fighting with her siblings like they were my siblings, like best friend. So we had disconnected. I really pulled away from her, and I never told her why. I was angry and I was resentful, and I never told her why. And it was because of one conversation that we had where, long story short, her boyfriend and I worked on a school project together when we were in the 12th grade. And her boyfriend was an asshole. And this was before she and her boyfriend got together, whatever. And so later, when her and her boyfriend got together, after we graduated from high school, I mentioned something about the project and how he had treated me. And she said, well, that's not how he remembers it. And in that moment, I felt like I was stabbed in the heart. Because what the hell do you mean how he remembers it? And does his memory and recollection of events suddenly hold more weight than mine? And it made me feel like her perception of me was that I'm some over dramatic woman whose feelings are irrational and invalid. It made me feel like her perception of me was that my own perception was skewed and untrustworthy. It made me feel like she perceived me as an unreliable narrator. You know what I mean? And so that really fucking hurt me. Because as much as I love the drama and the extraness, just because I'm fabulous and an amazing storyteller, I really do consider myself to be as fair a person as I possibly fucking can be. Even to a fault. You know what that's like, being an empathetic person, always. But the other person's point of view, but the other person, you know. So anyway, that hurt me. I felt misunderstood. I felt like, what the fuck have we been doing this entire time? Being friends. Have you been secretly hating me? Have you been secretly feeling about me the way that he feels about me and you just haven't told me? It made me feel insecure in our relationship. It made me feel unsafe. And I created distance in our relationship because of it, and I never told her. And so I had reached out to her recently because she was on my mind, and some things that she said in the conversation that we had, they triggered me again. And it wasn't like unpleasant, like we're arguing. It was just like, oh, your mom just asked about me a couple weeks ago and you didn't reach out to me, so you must not want to talk to me. So why are you responding back to me? Because when you came up in my mind, I reached out to you immediately because I actually wanted to talk to you. You don't want, like, you know what I mean? So there was a lot of overthinking that was going on. And it's really interesting because I don't really do that, or I haven't really done that until recently, like the past couple of months, overthinking things in relationships, feeling really sensitive with other people. And I'll touch on this. It's partially because when you are manifesting, everything that's not in alignment with your desire is going to come up to be healed. Everything that when you're doing your manifestation work, you're doing your journaling, you're doing your scripting, you're doing your EFT tapping, you're doing your visualizing, you're meditating, whatever, you're becoming a vibrational match to the reality of your desire. What I have been focusing on predominantly is next level success and recognition. I've also been a little bit focusing on great friendships, community, blah, blah, blah. So as you're tapping into the vibration of your desire, as you're living in that energy, the things within you that are not a vibrational match to next level success, to community, to all that stuff, it has to come up to be healed and to be shifted. It has to be moved through. It has to be. Because those inner children, those old wounds are what's keeping you where you are. Subconsciously, they're keeping you where you are. We would call those limiting beliefs. So your limiting beliefs get triggered as you're going through your manifestation process. And this is why manifestation can feel like a little bit of a mind fuck at times. Because it's like, what the hell is going on? I'm trying to make my life better. I'm envisioning myself succeed. I'm envisioning all of this goodness. And all of this fuck shit is happening. Like, what is going on? This is not what I asked for. I asked for things to get better. Why is everything shitty? Why is everybody ghosting me right now? Like, what the fuck is going on? And it's because Everything that's not in alignment with where you're going has to come to the surface. So over the past 2 years, I've been focusing a lot on money. Money was the thing that was triggering me the most for the past 6 years in business, right? So for the past 2 years, I've been deliberately digging into money mindset. My relationship with money has drastically improved and it gets better every single day. Fabulous. You've tackled a lot of the stuff around money, and now it's time for you to tackle the stuff around relationship and community. Because you can't be a woman who has a large community of people, who has a business with employees or independent contractors. I'm not entirely sure the route that I'm going to go with that. The point is, you can't be a woman who has community, who has nonprofits, who is doing work for the community and working with other people in order to, create positive change in the world. And you don't have good relationships and you don't trust people and you can't rely on people. One of the things that has been holding me back so much in my finances, my financial stability, my financial independence, my financial freedom, not even just wealth, right? Wealth is overflow, just my financial independence, my financial freedom, my financial stability. It's that when I leave my mother's house, the intention, we don't have time to talk about all the times that I've tried to move out of this house over the past 6 years. So the point is, what really matters is that my intention, the last time that I moved back into this house after Sacramento, was that I'm not going to leave this place until when I leave here, I never have to come back. I'm done with the yo-yo. I'm done with leaving because I'm running away from something. Anywhere that you go, your mindset is going to follow you. Changing the location isn't going to do shit for me. I'm not saying if you're in an abusive or terrible situation that you have to stay, blah, blah, blah. I'm just saying this is my experience and we don't have time to get into all the nuances. I'm fine and I'm safe. The point is, my goal and my desire was always, I am not going to leave this place until I feel so financially safe and secure and stable that I never have to come back. And the problem or the trigger that's come up around that is the world has to support you. People have to show up for you. People, Abraham Hicks calls them cooperative components. People are a big part of manifestation. The clients have to show up. The customers have to show up. The husband has to show up. The people have to show up. And I could never do that law of assumption. Nobody in your physical reality has free will. And I could never get behind that because, first of all, that sounds fucking bonkers. Could you imagine living in a world where every single person that's around you is there because you are controlling them? And if for a second you stop affirming or you stop blah, blah, blahing, then they could just up and decide to leave. I don't know. It doesn't make me feel loved. The idea and concept of forcing someone to love me, when they initially didn't want to or they don't desire to, that has never felt good to me. That feels like a nightmare and it feels empty and it feels hopeless. I don't want a life that looks beautiful and amazing. I will be single forever before I'm in a relationship with a man who is just here because I told him to be here and he doesn't have free will. I think it's fucking ridiculous. I think it is mental unwellness, and I'm not trying to be hurtful or harmful or demonize people or anything. I just genuinely and authentically do not think that it is conducive to having an emotionally fulfilled life for you to look at anybody in that way, right? We all know with manifestation and law of attraction and your mind, you can say anything. You can tell any story. You can form a belief around anything. If you want to believe that nobody in your physical reality has free will and everybody just is going to do whatever you say because you say it, you can absolutely believe that and you can absolutely create that. But is that going to give you emotional fulfillment? No. If the only reason that you're here is because I want you to be here, then I don't want you to be here. That's not what I want. I'm not collecting trophies. You know what I mean? I don't want people to be around me and they're a shell of themselves. I want to be genuinely and authentically loved and adored. I want to be seen and I want to be known and I want connection and I want to connect with people on a soul level. I want so much more emotional depth that really isn't discussed a lot in a lot of law of assumption circles. So that was kind of like a little tangent, 2.5. And that's just my thoughts on that. But anyway, what was I saying before that? Damn, I forgot. I wasn't planning on talking about that at all. I forgot what I was saying. Unsafe with people, needing to feel safe in community, getting triggered. I've been feeling triggered around relationships, connection with people. And the reason why I have been getting triggered more recently than ever before is because these things need to be healed now so that I can actually move to my next level of community, my next level of stability, my next level of safety and security, my next level of being out there in the world, right? It's like, that song by Paramore, Ain't It Fun, right? The idea and concept of living in the real world. Now, I know that a lot of like teachers and maybe even parents will say those things and talk about that idea and concept of the real world. In the real world, things are going to be much worse. In the real world, blah, blah, blah. And it really fucks you up if you're somebody like me who has experienced terrible abuse, neglect, betrayal, and abandonment. Because if the real world is worse than this bullshit, how fucking terrible could it be? Tell me right now, in detail. It's not funny. It's not funny at all. It's not funny, but it is what has been alive within me. So, okay, I haven't felt safe in community. I haven't felt safe with human beings. And I realized that recently. So, I've been going on an apology tour. There was a girl who I went to middle school and high school with her briefly. And I had like responded back to her Instagram story. And she like never saw it. Like she didn't respond, but she like never saw it. And it made me feel really hurt and really rejected. And so I had like unfollowed her and then like made her unfollow me. You know what I mean? And just like left it at that. And I was really hurt. And I just felt like, oh, maybe she has secretly hated me for the past 10 years. And she doesn't want to be following me. You know what I mean? So like that happened. And then with my thing from my best friend from high school, where I had reached out to her, I got really triggered in the conversation. And then the conversation just kind of ended. Like, you know what I mean? Like, one of those messages that you don't really have anything to respond back to. So she like sent the message. It was just like, I'm glad that you're doing well. And then I just, double tapped it, like just heart response. And that was that, I just felt like I don't want to force this connection. I don't want to be the person who is reaching out. And I had told her I wanted to, we should meet up. We should blah, blah, blah. And like, she didn't initiate anything or try to make plans. And so it was just like, okay, like, fuck this. I'm just going to leave her where she is, basically. And so I was like totally fine with that. I unfollowed her again and like had her unfollow me. And it was just like, whatever, like just leave everybody the fuck alone, basically, because nobody wants anything to do with me, apparently. So like that happened. And then I had another experience. All of this is so interconnected. And the last time I recorded this episode, it was 1 hour and 26 minutes. So I got to wrap all this shit up and quickly. I had another experience where I felt triggered and I was getting ready to cut this woman off. And then she really apologized and we just experienced repair in the connection and we're good now. And then after I analyzed my own behavior and I was like, okay, you cutting people off like this is starting to be a problem. I realized that I have been the nonchalant NIGGA. You know what I'm saying? Like, the call has been coming from inside the house. Not in romance. In my platonic relationships, I've been approaching things. Well, a little bit of romance. Hold on. Because don't lie. Don't lie, diva. I have been approaching things from this perspective of like, I don't care. Do whatever you want. You don't want to be my friend? You don't have to be my friend. I don't need you. I don't need anyone. I don't need any human being. I have my angels and ancestors and guides, and I'm fine by myself. And I love being by myself. And all of those things are true. They're genuinely and authentically true. I do love myself and I do love my company and I do enjoy my time and I do have an amazing relationship with my angels and ancestors and guides and God. You know what I mean? Like, I do feel connected and I don't ever feel alone. Like, when I was a little girl and I felt isolated and I felt unloved and all of that, I don't feel that ever, 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 ever. Whenever I need help, whenever I need support, whenever I need love, whenever I need to be held, I call out for help and help is given. Answers show up immediately without delay. So I don't feel that way of like, I don't feel isolated. I don't feel alone. And so to a part of me, it's like logical. I logically feel okay not having connection. I logically feel okay not having this. But it's not true completely. It's like a half truth. It's like my mind is playing tricks on me. You know what I mean? I'm okay not having connection. But also, let's talk about what's going on underneath it. And what's happening underneath is that you're terrified. And so it's one thing if you're making a conscious choice and decision to let someone go, to end a relationship, to, stop connection, to create distance with another person, and you're doing this consciously, and deliberately. And there's another thing when you're subconsciously operating from fear and pushing people away because you're afraid of experiencing that pain and betrayal and rejection. That's different. And I won't allow myself to be the woman who pushes people away out of fear. Boundaries, yes. My own personal standards and desires for connection, community, and relationship, yes. But pushing people away because I'm afraid that they're going to hurt me? No. That's not who I want to be as a human being. That's not the role that I want to set for my children. It's just not it. So after I had that conversation, and this friend, who's like a newer friend to me, after she apologized and she told me what was going on within her, I was like, oh my God, I was misunderstanding and you were dealing with your own thing and it wasn't personal and we're okay and the connection is okay. And we got intimacy, right? I told her how I felt and what I needed and she told me how she felt and what she was needing in that moment and things were really good. So like that was fabulous. After that moment, I just was recognizing where I wasn't being vulnerable, where I wasn't being honest. Oh my God. I have had this pattern, not just in platonic relationships, I'm thinking about romantic relationships, where I have not been fully vulnerable. Like years ago, there was this guy. Not the guy from the incident, right? I'm not really talking about a nightmare scenario. An unwanted scenario, yes, but not a fucking nightmare. So there was this guy, and I felt a connection to him, and I felt to reach out to him. And even though I reached out to him, even though I did the quote unquote right thing, I took the right action, I was in the right. Energetically, I wasn't open. I was closed off. You know what I mean? I had assumed that he wouldn't respond to me, but that's not the most important part for this conversation. The most important part for this conversation was I said something to him along the lines of like, if you're not interested, Jesus Christ, I said, like, if you're not interested, can you just at least block me so that I know? Which is fucking insane. Like, oh my God. And I don't mean insane like I'm judging myself. Just like insane. Like, that was not vulnerability, and that was not intimacy. Vulnerability and intimacy would have been me saying, I would like to connect with you, and I would like to get to know you better, and I hope that I hear back from you. That's vulnerability. That's intimacy. I wasn't giving vulnerability or intimacy. I was showing up in a 5 of Swords energy. Win at all costs mentality. Sure, I'm going to show up and I'm going to give a little. Sure, I'm going to show up and I'm going to say that I'm interested. Sure, I'm going to show up and I'm going to say how I feel. But I'm not going to fully say what I need. I'm not going to fully say what I desire. I'm not going to fully put myself out there. I'm not going to fully be vulnerable. And I was wrong. And so I've been realizing the way that I behaved. Leaving people, not like ghosting them and not responding back to them, but just leaving people's lives like I'm sneaking off like a thief in the night. 1 second I'm here, 1 second I'm gone. Making a plan to connect and then canceling because, oh, actually, I don't want to connect. Oh, actually, this isn't how I want to have a friendship. Oh, actually, this doesn't work for me because of this, this, and this. Oh, actually, I don't want this guy because he actually kind of has this flaw that I'm going to pick out, and I'm going to grow it, and I'm going to expand it, and I'm going to make it a bigger thing. Oh, my God. I realized I had projected so much onto, like, in my romantic relationships, being hypercritical of them because I felt like I wasn't good enough. Not like being hypercritical to them out loud, but being hypercritical to them in my mind. Of like, is this really the guy that I want because of blah, 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 superficial thing that literally does not matter at all. Is this really the guy that I want because of this, this, and this? And then I realized, oh my God. It's not that I'm worried about him being this. It's that I'm worried about me being this. Like, okay, full transparency, right? Let's actually fucking talk about it. We're going to be vulnerable. Let's be vulnerable because we're going to wrap this shit up quickly. And talking in circles just takes too damn long. After we've sat here for an hour, talking in circles just takes too damn long. I hate being vague. Okay, so there's this guy, right? Great guy, fabulous guy. And I felt, God, I really hope that he doesn't listen to this. None of this was personal. None of it was personal. None of it was a reflection of him. None of it literally meant anything about him. So there was this guy, and I felt really insecure about him. And I just felt like I don't know. His body's kind of small. He's kind of thin. He's kind of small. Do you think that he's kind of thin? Do you think that he's kind of small? I don't know. I just don't know if that would work. I don't know. And then I fucking realized, because I'm always willing to see things differently, especially like right now. This is like recent shifts, recent dots connecting. I realized, oh my God. I have to tell you more of the story. So I'm thinking, oh my God, is this guy a little bit too small? And then I think in my mind, because I'm like, okay, you want a guy who is bigger. That's fine. I don't want a guy who's bigger. I'm not saying I don't want a guy who's fat. I'm talking about physically, larger. I'm not talking about penises, I promise. And if I was, that would be okay too. But anyway, I'm thinking about this guy, and I'm thinking about what I want, and I'm thinking about what I desire in a man. Okay, this is just me getting clarity. Okay, you feel a little bit critical of his size, and you're afraid that he's too small for you because you're a fabulous fat woman. Okay, I get that. So you want a guy who's bigger. And then I think about having a guy who's bigger. I have dated a guy who is bigger, and I don't mean fatter, even though fatter is fine. We don't have time. Do not give that example. Shut up. Let's move on as a community. The bigger guy that I dated, he was like a, gym bro too. He just was physically larger, right? And it just wasn't, it's just not my desire. It's just not my desire. Nothing bad, nothing unworthy of love. It just wasn't my desire. It was really great. It was really wonderful. There were many things that I loved about it, but not my desire for my husband. And that's okay, because we all get to have our preferences. And there's a man out there in the world that's like, fat women are not my preference, and that's okay. And nobody's unworthy of love. And as human beings, we all have a beautiful variety, and we are all unique in our own way, and we get to decide what we like and what we desire. So I'm poking holes because that's what I do. I'm inspecting things. I'm reflecting. I'm thinking about my thoughts. I'm not just being hypercritical of this guy and just being like, okay, I don't like this thing about him. I'm discarding him, or I don't want to be with him, or I don't want to connect with him. I'm like, what's really going on here? You want a guy that's bigger? No, you don't want a guy that's bigger. Okay, what do you want? What do you desire? What do you want, mama? What do you desire? And then the thought comes into my mind. Maybe you're not worried that he's too small. Maybe you're worried that you're too big. And I went, oh my God. Light bulb moment. Light bulb going off in my brain. It wasn't about him. It wasn't about his body. It wasn't about his size. He's not a small man. He's not a small man. It wasn't about his body or the size of his body. It was about me. I was projecting onto him. No idea that I could do that. Knew that it was possible for others, but not for me. You know what I mean? So I realized that I said, oh, I got some body insecurity stuff. And it's crazy. Our minds can be so tricky and silly. Because in my conscious mind, I'm not thinking I have a problem with the size of my body. And I feel like the size of my body is not unlovable, just awkward. Awkward is the best word that I have for it. We're already at 1 hour and 8 minutes here, okay? So we're just going to go with awkward. Feeling that way about my body, I didn't think about it. And so I said, okay. And then I got a gym membership. Solutions. And I've been thinking about my body, and I've been thinking about my relationship with my body and what I want my relationship with my body to be like. And I've been at the gym because I have not been working out because, like I talked about in the last episode, I had not been leaving my house because I felt really, really unsafe and a lot of panic. But I got a gym membership and I have been leaving my house sometimes to walk to the gym or to just go to the gym, and that is helping me. And we'll probably talk about that more in other episodes. So what's my point? My point is, when you grow up around people who are unsafe, you can feel scared that the world is full of people who are unsafe. You can feel scared of human beings, and you can feel scared of human connection, and it's normal, and it's okay. And when I say that it's okay, I don't mean you should stay there for the rest of your days. I mean, you don't have to shame yourself or beat yourself up. God. My behavior over the past couple of months. Damn. Because I behaved in ways that I don't like, and I forgive myself. But I behaved in ways that I don't like, and when I was doing it, I was not doing it intentionally. It was absolutely subconscious. And so it brought me next level compassion and empathy for other people who sometimes self-sabotage, you know? And of course, there are those people in the world who do terrible shit intentionally to hurt other people, and they know that their behavior is inappropriate, and they don't care, and they lack empathy, and blah, 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 right? We know that. But sometimes it's not on purpose. Sometimes it's a fucked up accident. And in those moments, when you accidentally fuck up and push people away because you feel unsafe, you just apologize. I reached out to my high school best friend, apologized to her, told her why I distanced myself all those years ago. We talked about it. We're going to go out for lunch or something this weekend to talk about it. To talk about the conversation, to talk about everything. The girl that I went to middle school and high school with, I reached out to her because she reached out to me, which was fucking crazy. So while all of this was happening, literally same day, this all happened around like the Leo full moon, okay? While I was having the conversation with one of my friends and the high school best friend, like all of this repair was happening of me feeling left out in the cold, abandoned. People don't show up for me. People don't respond to me. The girl from my middle and high school who never saw my message, never responded, she messages me on Instagram and she says, "Oh my God, how did I miss this? Thank you so much. I appreciate it." Because I had responded back to her story. I had complimented her art. And I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. What is it? Text Natalie back day? It was like I had a week of everybody ghost Natalie this week. Nobody respond back to Natalie's text this week. And then on the same fucking day, it started with me reaching out to one person and saying, "That really hurt my feelings when you left me on scene and it made me feel blah, da, da, da." And I can't have that experience in my friendships. I need people who will respond to me so that I can feel safe, blah, blah. The same day that I'm repairing that relationship, my friend from middle school and high school reaches out to me and says, "I'm so sorry I didn't see this." And so now I have to respond back to her. And it's really embarrassing because her Instagram is private, my Instagram is private. And so I responded back to her and I just said, "I'm sorry. I thought that you ignored me. I felt like maybe you secretly hated me and it made me feel really anxious and I felt rejected. And so I unfollowed you and I'm sorry for that." And then she responded back and she was really kind and really understanding. And we briefly, went back and forth and things are good. sometimes, even though we are good people, we make mistakes and we operate out of unsupportive stories and wounds subconsciously. And this is normal, especially when you come from neglect, abandonment, abuse. It doesn't have to be exactly like my story. It can be similar, it can be your own thing. When you feel unsafe in the world and you feel unsafe with other people, you sometimes do silly things in the name of self-preservation and protection. And my biggest takeaway recently is apologizing. And I've been working with a feminine embodiment coach lately. And when I went into my body, what my body communicated to me is that I have been disassociating in my head, out of my body, afraid to be in my body because of all of that pain, so much pain. And right now I'm at a place where I am getting next level comfortable with pain, because I thought I was the fucking queen of feeling pain, right? But a lot of times we can go deeper with our work, especially as you're wanting to reach next level wealth, next level success, next level commitment, next level relationships. You got to go deeper. You got to go to a place you've never gone before. And my prayers to God have literally been me saying, God, I need you to be here for me in a way that you have never been here for me before. I need you to be here with me physically in a way that you have never been here with me before. I need you to be so present. I need you to love me and hold me and show up for me in a way that you have never done before. Taking things deeper to go higher. That's really the name of the game. So, what I'm learning and understanding is, number one, pain is a part of the human experience. And you're not going to get out of this life without it. You don't have to live in it. You don't have to relish it. It doesn't have to be every day. It doesn't have to be all the time. It doesn't have to be chronic. But it is something that happens. And that's okay. And we don't have to run from it. And it's safe to be in our bodies. And also, just because your childhood experiences tell you that no one will love you, or nobody will accept you, or nobody wants you, it doesn't mean that it's true. Something I realized is that people do have positive perceptions of me. People do want me around. And when I just up and leave people, it hurts them. I didn't realize that it would hurt them because I didn't think that anybody cared about me. So, realizing that, healing that, shifting that, stepping into next level self-worth. I deserve to be taken care of. I deserve to be loved. I'm worthy of being loved, and I'm so lovable. I was in a session with my embodiment coach, and long story short, because we're already at 1 hour and 18 minutes. You know what? This might be an 1 hour and 26-minute long fucking podcast episode, okay, y'all? Maybe it was always going to be that, because the episode where I was kind of telling this exact same thing, except I've added to it, and it's different, but in its essence, it's the same as the other one. The other one was 1 hour and 26 minutes too, and I didn't want to share that one. This one is significantly better, but maybe this particular episode just needed to be over a fucking hour long, But anyway, so I was in this session with my coach, and she tells me to, drop into my body. And I felt anxiety and stress and worry. And one of the first things that came up for me was I was afraid to get into my heart space, because I was afraid that my heart was going to be covered like a heart covered in black soot and tar. I felt unlovable at the core of me, and like there was something rotten and bad inside of me. And I was really afraid to go into my body and to explore that, because I was afraid that I was going to discover that I am terrible on the inside, and, there's nothing I can do to fix it. And by the end of my session, we had cleared and shifted a lot. I cried. It was so powerful, and we dropped down into my body again. And I tapped into this feeling of joy. It felt like sun rays. It felt like a childish energy that makes you want to laugh and play, and it's giddy, and God, it felt so good. And I just realized, like, oh my God, this is me, because I was feeling the energy in my body, and my coach is, asking me questions about it. And she says, okay, where do you feel this energy? And I said, I feel it in my heart. And when it clicked for me, that joy and happiness and that light, like literally rays of sunshine, a lightness, being elevated, silly, funny, goofy. Like when you just have the giggles, you can't stop fucking laughing. It wasn't happening to my heart. It was coming from my heart. It was my energy, my essence. It's like I experienced what it's like to be around me, what it's like to connect with me, what it's like to love me, what it's like to experience me. And now I understand what you guys mean when you guys comment, oh my God, your laugh is infectious. Like, I agree. That shit feels good as fuck. And it was a big shift for me and a big milestone for me in terms of feeling lovable, in terms of feeling worthy of unconditional love, in terms of telling a new story and being open to connecting with people and human beings, and it being like, God, of course I'm so lovable. I don't just know that I'm lovable. I feel that I'm lovable. It took everything deeper. Like the things that I know, the things that I even already believed to a degree, it just took it deeper. It took it like, I was telling my coach, I'm like, I'm not trying to be ironic. It just feels more embodied. Like I feel connected to my energy in my physical body. It's not just the energy of my mind that is amazing, because I'm already in love with my mind. But it's not just the energy of my mind. It's the energy of my essence, the energy of my soul. It's in my body and it's in my heart. Oh my God, it makes me cry. But that's it. That's my kind of verbal processing, kind of story time telling, kind of me giving you an example of the childhood experiences we have, how it impacts our relationships as adults, and what we can start doing to remedy it, what we can start working on, how we can start gaining awareness of these things, and what to do when you gain that awareness, which, long story short, is forgive yourself for all of the maladaptive coping mechanisms, and be willing to learn and do better, of course. All right, my love. I love you so much. This was so amazing. What do I have to say after all of that? Okay, there's 2 programs. The first program is Love After Loss, which technically it originally was a course on your relationship with all human beings, but I switched it to your relationship with your soulmate. So the early trainings are focusing on all people, but you can use all of the entire course for your relationship with all people. Anyway, it's a course on healing your interpersonal relationships. Specifically, it's more centered around healing your relationship with men and manifesting your soulmate, manifesting your husband. It is an incredible program. I highly recommend it. If you're looking for next steps after this episode, you're like, okay, this is bringing up so much shit for me. I want to take some next steps. I want to know what to work through. I need some help. I need some support. Boom, baby, get into Love After Loss. Also, because I mentioned it earlier in the episode, you should also check out the Receiver's Mindset course, which is technically closed for enrollment, but if you send me an email, then I will let you inside, because it is absolutely amazing. Love After Loss is the program. No, I'm sorry. The Receiver's Mindset. Love After Loss is amazing as well. But the Receiver's Mindset course is a program about developing the mindset of the receiver, developing the mindset of the worthy woman, right? Originally, it was called my How to Receive course. It was a self-love miniature course, which is a full-blown, massive program now. And it's about going from unworthiness to unworthiness. Going from, it's not okay for me to receive. It's not good for me to receive. It's not good for me to be loved. It's not good for me to be prioritized, to, it is good for me to be loved. It is good for me to be prioritized. It is good for me to be taken care of. And you will take the receiver's mindset and apply it to multiple areas of your life. You can apply it to your relationships. You can apply it to making more money in your career, in your job, in your business. You can apply it in general to manifesting, right? Inside of it, I have a 7-step process for receiving your desires. And it really is just about developing and practicing that mindset of the receiver. The receiver is the woman who argues in favor of her desires. She argues that it's right and good for her to get what she wants. She expects it and she receives it. It is the program of how I went from feeling guilty about existing, guilty about having needs, guilty about getting paid, to feeling good about getting paid and understanding that when I win, when I get paid, the entire world wins right alongside me. It is good for everyone for me to receive. It is good for everyone for me to be taken care of, okay? So I'll make sure that I have those linked in the show notes or the description, depending on where you're listening. I love you so much. Thank you for being in this community. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, rate this bitch. You know what I'm saying? Do all of the things. And I'll talk to you next week.